to separate the myths from the facts. Welcome to Healthy View Radio with your trio of co-hosts, Andrea Beeman, Lisa Lutan, and Michelle Fennickhouse. Today, you'll learn what it takes to be healthy and happy within a stressful world from three experts walking their talk. Here is Lisa, Andrea, and Michelle.
Welcome to Healthy View Radio, where lately we have been spicing it up. Now, last week we talked about literal, actual spices in your kitchen for good health. And today we're talking about spicing it up in the bedroom, also for good health. My name is Michelle Fennickhouse, and I am here with my co-hosts, Andrea Beeman and Lisa Lutan. So here's something that I don't know if you guys know this, but millennials are actually having less sex than any generation in 60 years. What? There's a really interesting article in the Washington Post. And there's a quote from a guy is saying, "I would rather be watching YouTube videos and making money. Sex is not something people ask you for on your resume."
I am so shocked to hear that, because with like Tinder and Bumble and all these apps, it feels like they're having sex every day, multiple times.
Maybe it's just that they all want sex, but nobody's getting any because they're so busy.
We were busy.
Yeah, you're thinking about what you would have been doing with Tinder and all these types of technology at our fingertips, but they're doing something totally different with it.
Hey, I have kids that are millennials. I can tell you, they are doing it with it a lot.
That's the parts they tell you.
They tell me everything.
So wait, explain a millennial. What is the age bracket of the millennial? What are they? How old?
I think they're born in like the 1990s, maybe to 2000s. Is that?
I think so.
A-Rod just said 1990 to 1999.
Yeah.
So it's literally a 9-year span of people.
It's that small. I didn't realize it was such a small window.
That decade in there. Right.
So
So how old are they?
How old are they? Who's got?
Okay, so all three of my kids are millennials.
And they're in their 20s, right?
20, 24, 26. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the age where some are starting to get married if they're, getting married on the younger side, right? But I think I've heard about this statistic in terms of infertility, that in general, people are having less sex than they used to. So obviously chances of conceiving go down. It's actually a big concern in the infertility world.
Well, I mean, that's not a bad thing for the planet. Like we're overpopulated. Yeah. Humans are like this virus that just keeps replicating. Maybe a little less sex and less babies might work.
Well, yeah, I was thinking, I think there are good reasons for it, and I think there are bad reasons for it. Let's talk about some of the good reasons. So there's one. Maybe it's better for the planet. Maybe that's what they're thinking.
Well, also, there's so many STDs out there. It's kind of scary.
Oh, yeah. Isn't syphilis making a comeback now? Or is it gonorrhea?
I think gonorrhea. I think both. But it's
chlamydia?
All these diseases out there that you don't know about. That's terrifying. They were around years ago, too. But I think it's just terrifying.
Well, they didn't grow up in the era of HIV, AIDS, like when it exploded in the 80s, it drove everybody into a condom, right? So now they have this freedom, I guess. And maybe that's why the STDs are on the rise. There's no thinking you're going to die if you have sex.
Well, I also think that condoms are used more regularly now, and they think that that's a protection, just a safe way to do it. Whereas back in the 80s, people weren't using condoms so much, right?
No, it's true. I didn't use any.
No, we didn't, because we didn't know about it. Remember when herpes came out? We were like, what is that?
I can't believe I made it out of the 80s without an STD. I think I had warts. I think I got warts.
Too much information.
Andrew, you're so shy. I wish you would just break out of your shell a little tiny bit.
It's one of those non-life threatening things that can actually go away, as opposed to some of the other.
Right. No joke. Well, maybe with more education, since that era, I know when I went through school, there was a lot of emphasis because the AIDS thing was just behind us or barely behind us, right? So maybe there's more sex ed, maybe there's more awareness of these things. And yeah, people are scared, and maybe it's easier to not have sex. Maybe that's one of the reasons, and like a decent, like a good reason, or obviously pregnancy. Do you think that girls in that age bracket, women, young women, are aware of the negative effects of birth control pill, or the birth control pill, or do you think that this is still something that no one is thinking of?
I think that there's a lot of talk about it, but there's also a lot of problems because there are hormonal effects from many forms of birth control. And there really isn't a go-to method of birth control that's a no-brainer. You know, when I was growing up, you went to the pill and that was it, unless you wanted a diaphragm. And I was a diaphragm baby, so that was just not going to happen. And so we just didn't really think that there were so many choices, but now there are, but they are all having effects. And I think girls are more aware of those effects and hopefully not willing to tolerate those effects.
Well, you know, like in our community, right, the community of health and wellness, I think that there's more awareness around what the birth control pill actually does to the female body. But I think the general population, I don't know. I mean, I still see a lot of people taking the birth control pill from the time that they're 13 years old until their 30s. And then they wonder how come they can't get pregnant when they get off the pill. I mean, it sets them up for a whole host of problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So maybe those are all thoughtful reasons to not be having sex, but I think there's like maybe some negative cultural things going on, you know, where people are maybe like, this guy says, I'd rather be watching YouTube videos. And I believe he was talking about pornography in this context, where it's just easier.
Yeah.
And you can just sit at home and get anything you want, whether it's porn or something else.
Yeah, but then you lose out on the oxytocin, right? You lose out on the bonding hormone, right? Who are you bonding with besides your hand? And I'm not anti-masturbation. You know, I think they're lovely, you know, but you know that when you're canoodling or cuddling with someone and then you're releasing this hormone, this bonding hormone, this relationship hormone, which I think helps us thrive.
Totally. But I guess there's if you can't be with one you love the one you're with, you know? And so that's probably yourself and Netflix or whatever it is. I mean, that is definitely a change, you know, in the last 10, 20, 30 years that porn has definitely impacted, I think, behaviors in a big way. But I also think people are exhausted. I think they're so tired, and having sex takes effort. And so sometimes it's easier for people to just not. And I think that's a really interesting question for our guests today. I'd like to hear about that.
All right, be sure to ask it.
If
so
any of our guests are that young that they can really tell us what it's like to be growing up in the era of swipe left, swipe right, you know, where most of your social interaction is happening over a screen.
Like AIs, right?
They don't have sex, or do they?
No, they might. I mean, I know that they are building dolls, like female dolls for men to interact with. I don't know if we've actually created one that's, you know, a man for the woman to interact with, although I'm sure that's coming as well. But, you know, lifelike human, when I say dolls, I mean like robots.
Like Westworld.
Yes. Yes.
Like totally. That's what it is.
So that's pretty amazing. Thinking of sort of the culture that's changing around sex because of in general, the different ways that we interact. Look at us right now. We're on a screen. We're in 3 different parts of the world, you know, talking to each other and broadcasting everywhere. So like, this is the norm. And I guess that's kind of the opposite of being right next to somebody skin to skin.
I'm going to be skin to skin with Lisa on Saturday.
You are.
So excited. We're going to play in the dirt.
You guys are so funny. It was going to be a threesome, by the way, but I had
yeah, all the guys are like, what?
So I was thinking about, you know, what about someone like even of an older generation, just any of us, what about somebody who either doesn't have a partner, or for someone, especially women in a certain age range where the libido is just in the toilet? Like, does sex have to be sex for it to be part of a healthy diet? You know, does cuddling count? Does masturbation count? You know, let's talk about other ways to get it on.
I think it all counts. And I think so much of it is in your head. Is it like, is there a problem or is there not a problem? If you are doing things and it's feeling good and you're feeling good, great. And you're getting what you need, great. And if you're not, then there's the problem. And so we have to move away, just like with food and everything else, from the shoulds and the norms and how often this or that, and just say, how am I feeling? And am I feeling, intimate in my life? Do I have intimate connection in my life? Because I think that's what we're really craving the most. At least I can say that for me.
Yeah. Intimacy and connection, right? So the sex is fantastic, right? The physical part of it, it's good for the blood. It keeps everything moving and functioning. But there's also this sensuality that I think you can have up until your elder years, as long as you nourish it. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the physical act of sex, right? It could be, and when I say the physical act of sex, it could just be that you're touching one another, right? You're stroking one another, you're, loving one another, but in a physical, tactile way without having to perform, right?
Right. But I think there are plenty of people in their 80s and 90s that are having sex. And again, if it's all what's really working for you.
Yeah. So like George, what was his name? George Burns. He was 101. He was still dating models. He was smoking cigars. He was drinking. He was dating. Did he date Brooke Shields? I don't know, when she was 14.
Ooh, did she? Ooh.
I don't think so. That's just a horrible rumor.
We're going to perpetuate.
Yeah. But, there's lots of ways that we can connect with each other. And sex is just one of them.
Right.
Right.
Totally
it's the
agree.
physical connection between us. Like
I
the
think
insertion.
what you were saying earlier, Lisa, about people are just too busy. Like I know, like of women my age, we have little kids still waking us up in the middle of the night. And a lot of my friends are like having that third baby right about now. That was not exactly planned. So I think like the birth control topic and the busy topic like comes into play not just when we're young, but certainly at this age as well.
Yeah, you just want to get a decent night's sleep. And, like when you're raising children, forget it. But then I think as you get older, you have hormonal fluctuations in both men and women. And, many men are feeling most aroused in the morning. Many women might be in the night, and so I think there's a lot of maneuvering and figuring it out and rewriting a new dialogue for sex in a relationship. So it's another form of communication that has to constantly be evolving.
Yeah. So I like morning sex as well. Yeah. Because, nighttime, exactly, Lisa, what you said, there's this, the whole day, you just spent all your energy doing everything out in the world. And in the nighttime, my energy's like, nah, not really. I just a pillow. It's so soft and cuddly. I could just stay here until the morning. I don't actually want to do anything.
But see, I find the morning, I am like raring to go, like start my day. I'm like, none of that, no time for that right now, So I think that's the key, is like knowing yourself and knowing your own, rhythms.
Mm.
Let's talk a little bit more about birth control, because we touched on it, right? But I think that's a topic that women don't hear enough about. Like it's one of these things where like we need answers, and no one's given us any answers. Everyone says that's not good for you, that's not good for you, that doesn't work, and we're just kind of left like, eh.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about birth control pill.
I'm a rhythm girl.
Oh, rhythm?
I'm a rhythm method. Yeah.
Well, I just went through menopause, so I'm good. But
great.
Yeah, no. Yeah. But anyway, IUD seems to be the most popular that I'm hearing for women in their 20s right now.
But doesn't that upset the metal element, like the copper, right? Isn't there something in the copper that does?
It causes local inflammation.
Yes.
Right. So as opposed to being a hormonal based IUD, so there's two types of IUDs. The Mirena is hormonally based. The copper is just copper. So you're not putting hormones into your system, but it works by causing inflammation.
Right.
But having that inflammation for long periods of time over, and I mean, that's going to cause problems
Well, I don't think
potentially.
there's any great answers, but yes, I have a copper IUD. From my understanding, it's the best of the worst, options out there.
Right. It's
But
a hard one.
the
There's
very
really
best
not great
option
options.
is you know what, for the man. If you're in a relationship,
Snipping him.
I cannot say enough about women's issues and the man's vasectomy. I mean, my goodness, it is a simple procedure.
Yeah.
There's no reason why not, in my opinion. If all the child raising is already happening and then no more of that's going on, I'm a big fan of the vasectomy. Just putting it out there.
No, me too. We did that.
Snipped? You snipped him?
Yep, absolutely. After the third kid, it was like done. And I had been on the pill for 20 something years.
Wow.
And he was like, you know what? It's time. You got to stop that. Because we didn't know better.
That's right. And we go through so much, right? Between our periods and all the drama that can sometimes come with pregnancies and miscarriages and then birthing itself and everything that goes along with that. I feel like a woman's body goes through so much. And one little outpatient procedure doesn't seem like a whole lot to ask for.
It really isn't. I totally agree with you.
So I would just want to put that out there because as we talk about sex, I mean, I just don't see how we
What about our guys in the audience? Like Mark, who shows up every week. You have a couple of fellas. What do you guys think about the snip and clip? What are you thinking?
Actually, it's the tug. That's how they say.
The tug?
Yeah, that's how they describe it.
Why a tug? Do they tug on the thing?
I don't know. That's how they all describe it, the tug.
I don't know, but Nick is saying that you can hire cuddlers now.
Ooh.
All right.
Wow.
I like that.
Wait, do you get to see what the cuddle?
Is there an app for that? Like I can swipe and find cuddlers?
We can find out during the break. We need to go to that in just a second. But when we get back, we'll be talking to the Dear Abby of Sex, Susan Bratton. Susan's fresh approach and original ideas have helped millions of people of all ages and across the gender spectrum transform sex into passion. Married to her husband since 1993, Susan is an author, award-winning speaker, and a serial entrepreneur who teaches passionate lovemaking techniques to her fans around the world. Susan's straight-talking, fearless approach is rooted in her personal experience of watching her sex life wither while she and her husband pursued dynamic careers. And when their relationship hit a crisis point, the couple made a fierce commitment to do whatever it took to keep their family together and revive the passion in their marriage. Today, she and her husband have the kind of dream relationship most people long since stopped believing is even possible until they discover Susan's teachings. And we'll be back to discover those teachings in just a moment.
Just so you know, you guys, I won't be able to share onto the stream until after the show because I don't have my other computer here.
No problem.
Okay.
Here's Susan.
Hello.
Hi, ladies.
Hi, Suzanne. Oh, she's a little low.
Susan.
Yeah,
Is
Hello?
there you go.
Is it Susan or Suzanne?
Susan.
Susan.
Hi,
Okay.
Susan.
Hi.
So, Susan, I'm going to be running through the next segment,
Okay.
and we'll go for about 15 or 16 minutes or so, and then I'm going to wrap you up in a nice, big, beautiful, lube-filled bow, and you can tell people where to find you, and I think you have a special gift for our listeners, right?
I do.
Okay, great.
Terrific. And A-Rod, is she coming through okay?
How do I sound?
A little better now.
I get louder.
I only get louder. Well, A-Rod went to the bathroom, but maybe when he comes back, he'll let us know if your sound is looking good on his end.
He went to tug. Why do they call it a tug? It's a
I don't know.
snip. They snipped a little.
I don't know, but all these guys, they're like, oh, the tug. Conversation. Well,
I haven't heard that either.
Nick says you could be giving the men a gift with a vasectomy, maybe giving permission to wander without worry. Just saying.
Oh,
yeah.
oh well, yeah. That's
When you put it that way, Nick.
something to think about, right? Wanderlust.
Wander.
Oh, and Margaret says they have to tug on the tube to cut it.
There you go.
Oh, thank you, Margaret.
We can always count on Margaret.
Margaret knows what's up.
Margaret knows everything.
Alrighty,
She's our
ladies.
fact checker.
Sorry to interrupt. Here we go.
Okay.
From some of the most interesting events available. Don't forget to view all our live events, including on-demand access to past events that you may have missed.
Sounds like a commercial.
Your life, your health, your network. You're listening to Voice America Health and Wellness.
You're listening to Andrea Beeman, Lisa Lutan, and Michelle Fennighaus with Healthy View Radio. Do you have a question or comment for the show? Please call us right now at 1-866-472-5792. That's 1-866-472-5792. Or send us an email from our Voice America radio page. You'll find connections to reach any of the hosts there. Now, back to Healthy View Radio.
Welcome back to Healthy View Radio. I'm Andrea Beeman, and today we are talking about sex. Ooh la la. It's a taboo topic for a lot of folks, but humans cannot be here on the planet without it, and relationships need a healthy sex life to stay strong and connected. So today, to help us understand this topic better, we have Susan Bratton. After 15 years and over 30,000 hours of research, practice,
Hey.
and teaching and testing, Susan has distilled the 6 simple essentials that ignite passionate lovemaking into her latest #1 international best-selling book, Sexual Soulmates. Welcome to the show, Susan.
Hello. Great to be here. I brought one of my techniques today for you from the 6 Essentials.
Oh, good. It's exciting. Before we dive in, we like to ask our guests 3 simple questions to help our audience get to know you a little bit better. So you ready to play?
Yes, of course. I'm here to play.
Okay. So what did you have for breakfast today?
Well, I'm having a nut bar. I'm doing a 5-day fasting mimicking diet. I'm on day 4 this morning. It's based on the longevity diet by Walter Longo. It's a patented thing that you can do that resets your insulin levels. It helps with autophagy, which is where your cells start to clean up the dead cells. So it lowers your risk of cancer and rejuvenates and regenerates your cells. And then it also releases stem cells to go in and repair things. Like I hurt my hand getting my scuba certification this summer, and I'm hoping that'll feel better. And I'm doing this with my husband, and I'll tell you, I thought it was going to be hard to fast for 5 days, but they give you just enough food that you're not miserable at all. Like, I can't believe how good I feel. And they ship you the box of stuff, and I have really loved, I mostly like spend all my time cleaning lettuce, and because I brought you my salad dressing recipe for better sex. So I'm always eating salads, and it takes forever to make them, but I do it because it's what's good for me. And I have honestly loved just opening the packets and stirring stuff in water and eating these little cups of soup and things for days because I have been getting so much more work done. So that's what I'm eating for breakfast is a nut bar from Prolon out of my little meager portions of food I get on my fasting mimicking diet.
Wow. So a fasting mimicking diet. You're the first guest that has had that.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm going to do it 3 times for 3 months in a row, 5 days per month for the next 3 months. Because I was drinking too much. I eat well, but I was drinking a ton of wine. And, if you don't want to get diabetes and you don't want to get cancer and you don't want to get Alzheimer's, they call Alzheimer's. I know we're going to talk about sex, but I'll tell you, the basis of great sex is a good body that works. Your sexual energy, your vitality is actually right from how much energy and vitality you have in your body. Like if you don't feel like sex, it's probably because you're not that healthy.
That's
healthy
correct.
People want a lot of sex. And so my dad has Alzheimer's. They call Alzheimer's they call it diabetes type 3. It's the insulin pathway. So between the cancer pathway, the mTOR pathway of eating meat, and the sugar pathway of having insulin problems that lead to things like diabetes and Alzheimer's, I just wanted to, at 57, reset, 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 restore, regenerate. That's what I'm doing. And I could tell you about my vaginal rejuvenation that I've been going through too, if you want to talk about that.
Well, that would be
Sure.
great. We can
Bring
close
it
out
on.
with a vag
But you have 2 more questions, so
Let's skip them.
if you want to, I can talk about vago if you want to. It's great.
That could be
well,
the guilty pleasure.
Yeah, well, let's go to that question. What's your guilty pleasure, if any?
Oh, my guilty pleasure. My guilty pleasure. Oh, I don't have any pleasure that's guilty. I don't have a guilty pleasure.
That's good. Okay, so this morning I had the pleasure of watching your 20 Things I Do with My Vagina
Oh
video.
my God. Did you love that?
It was a lot of fun. You're a cutie. And I love personally that you use organic coconut oil and organic olive oil as lube.
Avocado, not olive.
Oh yeah, avocado as lube.
Yes.
So, can you explain why it's so important to keep the chemicals out of your vagina?
Well, keep the chemicals off your body generally. So I use completely non-toxic skincare, shampoo, laundry detergent, soap in my house, no chemicals of cleaning chemicals. And if I wouldn't put it in here, I wouldn't put it in there. It's the same system. It's vaginal mucosa, mouth, you have oral mucosa, vaginal mucosa, that's the skin. And it is a sponge. That's why sex is good for you, especially, you were talking earlier about vasectomies and contraception. Your man's ejaculate is a fabulous thing for your body. Everything in your vagina, like your mouth, soaks stuff in. That's why you take birth control or not birth control, sorry, hormones sublingually, like your progesterone at night, goes right into your bloodstream, bypasses your liver. So there's so many great things in men's semen also that are good. So like luteinizing hormones to keep your periods regular if you're still having them, serotonin to keep you happy, oxytocin to keep you connected. It's just full, zinc to give you mental clarity. It's full of good things for you. And so I wouldn't put any lube in my vaginal area that I wouldn't put on my food and put in my body. And so I use organic coconut and I use a health and beauty grade avocado oil that I get on Amazon. It's called Hobe, H-O-B-E, that is very, very viscous. And my vulva loves it. It doesn't get crumbly. The proteins from your lubrication don't make it sticky or tacky. It is wonderful.
I think you've changed my whole perspective of men's semen because, I've been a notorious spitter my whole life.
Well, your stomach acid is going to kill it if you ingest it. It's better to take it intravaginally. Okay. That's actually better for you. So you could get him really close and then just hop on him if you want to.
That's good advice. And I'm going to have my friends, other friends start to bottle it. I mean, it sounds like an amazing...
Don't give it away. Take it all for yourself. I wanted to tell you about a contraception method that I think is really good. And the reason people don't think about it is because it's not named contraception. And I think that's a legality issue maybe or something. It's like the lawyers probably got involved, but the rhythm method. Now, Andrea, you said you use the rhythm method and Michelle and Lisa were like, ooh, that's dangerous. That's like Russian roulette. There is a new sex tech or femtech category of product in the marketplace. Daisy is one of them. It's called, that's DAYSY. It's called Fertility Awareness Method. Well, what that really is when can you get pregnant and when are you safe? And you're safe all except for about 6 days a month, which is why people who do understand what their basal temperature rate is can know when it's safe to have sex and know when they won't conceive. And this is a little device that has a little thermometer. When you wake up in the morning, you take your temperature and it's an app that talks to your phone and it takes your data, your temperature data, and it compares it to a database of thousands, if not millions of women now. I don't know what the exact numbers are, and tells you when you're fertile and when it's safe to have unprotected sex so that you can just have oral sex, just have manual sex, just do different things on the days that you are fertile so you can avoid getting pregnant. And you don't have to. I like the copper IUD too, Michelle. I think, was it Michelle or Lisa who said you use the, Michelle said
Yeah,
she
I
used the
have
copper IUD. I think the copper IUD is the best option for non-hormonal birth control, with the exception or with the inclusion of the fertility awareness method using these new apps and tracker combinations. I think that's like fantastic. So you should definitely check it out.
Yeah, and I'll just add in there, we use the fertility awareness method to get pregnant, you know, when I was in that phase of my life.
Yeah.
So you don't even need an app, but it does require you to really pay attention and do something every day at the same time and be very aware, as the method is named. And it worked beautifully for spacing the boys out 3 years. It's great, but I think it takes maybe more work than most women are able to put into it.
I don't think so. I think women, young women today, you would not believe how into their vulvas they are. They know what they're putting their finger in their vulva every day and looking at the fluid, and they're saying, okay, oh yeah, I see, I'm getting close to, they can tell by what their vaginal secretions look like.
Sure can.
They're very into their menstruation. They're very into the moon. They're very into their womanhood. They're using fertility awareness method. They are in tune with their bodies in a way that now I'm older than the three of you.
No, you're not.
No. Okay.
I'm close.
Okay, good. But in our era, it was like down there, all that we didn't know. Like, I didn't even look at my vulva till I was like 45. And my husband said, I'm very late this is my second career. I was a Silicon Valley executive for the first 30 years of my life and 45 years of my life. And when my husband and I almost lost our marriage because I had stopped really wanting sex with him, our intimacy had waned. We just were like, we've got to save our marriage. We've got to figure out what we're going to do. So we literally went to all these tantra workshops and sex workshops. It was very, very triggering for me, but I went, and I had been abused as a child. I got therapy and I got through that. And then I realized, oh, wow, sex is as good as people say. And one day he just got out the mirror and he said, I want to show you how beautiful you are to me. And he made me hold the mirror and he pointed out on my vulva all of the beauty to him. And it was in that moment that I started to love myself again. And so it was our generation. We were disconnected, but the young women today, they're much more connected, which is why fertility awareness method is going to be huge, and it's just getting started.
Yeah, it's making a comeback.
Yeah.
So you talked a little bit about the salad dressing recipe. So I'm curious, is it the salad dressing, is it for an actual salad or is it for sex?
So it's a salad dressing recipe for salad, because we when we're created as a zygote, when we're an embryo inside our mommy's belly, every human starts out as female. And then about 16 weeks in, there's a blast of hormones that happens that changes those chromosomes into takes the X and the Y and says, oh, okay, now these are going to be the boys. And that structure of our clitoris turns into a penis instead for boys. But it starts out exactly the same. So they have the same parts we do, just in a different place and order. That's called homologous, which means that our clitoris, which is the tip, the shaft, the glands, the hood, the little arms, and the bigger legs, that if you put that into a penis, it's the head, the foreskin, the shaft, the crura, the corpus cavernosum, which is the little chambers that get filled with blood to make an erection, and the spongiosum, which is the spongy part that comes out of the ureter and wraps the ureter, which is kind of like, in a way, our G area. And so we have the same amount of erectile tissue inside us as a man does in his penis. And so our pleasure and sensation is directly related to how much circulation and how much blood flow we get, same as a guy. So if we don't get a clitoral erection, if we don't get a vulval hard-on, if you will, we don't have the orgasmic potential and pleasure that we deserve. And so it takes men and women 20 to 30 minutes to really become fully aroused. And we all rush it in our shame and our busy lives and our stress so we don't often get to our full engorged sexual potential. as we age, we lose both sensation and we have vascular loss, nerve loss. If we don't keep our circulation high, if we don't keep our circulation flowing in our body, if we have any kind of, plaque in our system. And so if you eat bottled dressing, it's full of bad oils, sugars, crap. It is crap. You can look at a grocery store and look at a wall of salad dressings, and awful. Not one of them is good for you. So I say, if you're going to take back your health and you're going to keep your circulation up so you can have great sex, you need to feed your husband this too. You start making salads and you start putting really good organic avocado oil or organic avocado olive oil as the base. And here's the recipe. 1 cup of oil to a 1/4 cup of vinegar, and then put some good French Dijon mustard, like a tablespoon, and whisk it together. That's all. Now you can always, what I call, bling it out. You can bling it out with herbs, fresh or dried. I like savory and marjoram. You can add salt and pepper if you like salt and pepper. You can add anything you want to it from there, but really 1 cup of oil, a 1/4 cup of vinegar, a tablespoon of Dijon mustard emulsifies the two together. And that is a extremely healthy salad dressing that keeps your circulation in good shape, because you don't get heart disease and you don't spike your insulin from all the crap in the bottle dressing. It lasts for hours, and you just shake it up in a jar in the fridge and pour it on your dressing. No, it lasts for weeks, and you just keep it in the refrigerator and shake it up.
I have a super quick question, like a real fast question. You said healthy people want a lot of sex.
Yes.
If someone's healthy and they don't, what's one thing they should do? A first step?
There are really 3 roadblocks to having good sex. The first one is health, and it could be emotional or it could be physical. So you want to look at, is it emotional? Have they been shamed? Have they been abused? Is there something going on? A lot of times a woman will come to me. I wrote a program called Revive Her Drive for men in relationship whose wives don't want to have as much sex as they want, or don't want to have sex with them anymore, what to do to turn her back on. But women come to me and say, how do I revive his drive? And a lot of times it's health issues, erectile dysfunction they don't want to talk about. And sometimes, and this is the thing, women almost always can figure out why their husbands don't want to have sex with them, except in one place where they have a blind spot, which is called a scoma in psychology. They can't see this one thing, which is he's not turned on by her anymore. For some reason. Whatever she's doing or how she's being, or she let herself go, or he's angry with her, he doesn't want her anymore. And that's why he doesn't want to have sex with her, which I think is quite interesting. But health is one. The second is they don't have a partner. That's another big obstacle to sex.
Well, hold on a sec, Susan.
Yeah.
We actually have to, I'm sorry, but we have to go to a break.
Do it.
I want our listeners to find out more about you and how they can connect with better sex.
Yeah.
Can you give, I know you have a free gift for our people?
Yes, I do. SexualSoulmatePact.com. It is a bedroom communication skill that explodes passionate lovemaking. It takes away all your worry about asking for what you want. It helps you understand what you want so you can ask for it. And it helps your partner love to get your feedback. It takes your sex life to the next level. And it's at SexualSoulmatePact.com. And it's from my book, Sexual Soulmates.
Well, thank you for coming on today and sharing your fabulous salad dressing, as well as everything else that you've shared with us. I hope that our viewers are as excited as we are to pick up your information and to get to know you and your work better. Okay, so coming up right after the break, we will be speaking with Amanda Malachesky about complex health challenges and functional nutrition. Plus, we might dive into her sex life as well. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
I wish we had more time.
Same. So much to talk about.
Yeah, anytime.
All right, we'll get you back again.
All right, sweeties. Love you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Susan.
Bye.
All right,
Bye.
Amanda.
Bye.
A-Rod never says goodbye to anyone.
I know.
You got him hot under the collar.
All righty. Here we go. Amanda, I'm going to get you off mute. Hello.
Good morning. Hello.
Hello.
Steamy conversation.
I can't wait to engorge my vagina when we get done.
Amanda, I'm Lisa. I'm going to be interviewing you.
Hi, Lisa.
And so basically we'll talk for, it'll be 10 minutes all in. And then after that, we wrap up the show and you can hang on or you can just exit at that point. But
okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Oh man, how's that for an act to follow?
Seriously. Yeah. Goodness.
Too much.
Gosh, you better bring in the functional nutrition in some deep way.
I was laughing out loud though. That was good fun.
We always have good fun here.
Mm-hmm.
We do.
Andrea talking about being a spitter. Oh my God.
Yeah, but now.
She's like, I'm going to bottle it. We'll put it next to the banana peel tea on the shelf.
Oh. Here we go, lady.
We should ferment it. We call it spunky.
You're listening to Andrea Beeman, Lisa Luton, and Michelle Fennighaus with Healthy View Radio. Do you have a question or comment for the show? Please call us right now at 1-866-472-5792. That's 1-866-472-5792. Or send us an email from our Voice America radio page. You'll find connections to reach any of the hosts there. Now, back to Healthy View Radio.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Lisa Luton, and we have been talking about sex. Can't wait for this to continue. But in this section of the show, we introduce you to some exciting and upcoming talent in health and wellness. So I am so pleased to introduce you to Amanda Malachesky. Amanda, welcome to our show.
Hi, thanks for having me so much. I'm excited to be here with you all.
I want to tell everybody a little bit about you. Amanda is a certified functional nutrition and lifestyle practitioner and a certified functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, speaker, and blogger who helps people get beyond their symptoms to their root causes and make the individualized diet and lifestyle changes needed for true recovery. Amanda found functional nutrition after an exhaustive search for answers about her own anxiety, endometriosis, can never say that word well, and digestive challenges. She's inspired to help healthcare evolve into a system that truly restores vitality and health, one client at a time. Amanda is the founder of Confluence Nutrition, a virtual functional nutrition clinic, and she lives on 50 acres with her husband, 2 children, and animals on California's beautiful Lost Coast. Wow, Amanda, so great having you. Just wondering, do you talk about sex with your clients?
I haven't talked a lot about sex with my clients. It's I appreciate your earlier guest and how comfortable that conversation goes. I find that, it can take a little while to get comfortable with that conversation with clients and build the rapport you need to really go there. But it's an important conversation for certain.
Absolutely. Well, tell us about your journey and how you got started in functional medicine.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I, like so many of us, had my own journey and process, and it's still going on. It never really closes completely, but over years, I had an ongoing and increasing level of symptoms related to my cycle and, severe pain and anxiety that would come up and panic attacks. And I had these phobias that were kind of, I don't know, they sort of showed up when I was about 32, and it's, when they were active, it was really difficult to kind of even leave the house. I mean, and so, I've always been really interested in food and nutrition and sort of alternative routes to finding solutions for health problems. But I had to really dive deep in this process and start looking for answers, because my short visits to the doctor didn't really provide very much information or a useful solution or path to get better. And so, I met a practitioner who did hormone testing, and we just did that little piece, and that was interesting and useful, but it was still just this one little piece of the puzzle. And I have a background as an ecological design professional and student. And so I like big picture, whole system solutions. And so that's what I was looking for. And I happened to find the functional diagnostic nutrition program in an ad in a magazine. I mean, it was really random. I was in the grocery store one day and there was an article on the cover that seemed like it would be useful. And next to it, there was an ad that said, do you want to be a health detective? And I thought, yeah, I do. That's exactly what I want to do. I already am a health detective. So that's how I ended up here.
I love that. Can you explain to our listeners what the difference between functional and integrative is? Because I think there's a lot of confusion around that.
Yeah, that's a really great question. So I think that, integrative broadly covers, the practice of blending traditional medicine with other practices like acupuncture or nutrition or chiropractic or, just these complementary therapies that are, definitely all very useful and have important things to bring to the table. But I think that functional medicine, is what it really is a systems approach to approaching a medical problem or a health problem. It's a structure and a framework rather than a particular modality. It's sort of a way of thinking into the complexity that people are presenting with and using that as the place to look for the answers and really focusing on, what's true for this person, not what's true for a population or what's true in research or, what's true for these 30 people over here, but what's true for this person right in front of me. And that's going to be different for each and every person.
So functional nutrition then is a piece of functional medicine?
Yeah.
Or is it considered something totally different? I'm just clarifying because I know people are throwing around these words a lot and I don't know that people are really clear on the difference. So I think this is a great opportunity.
Yeah. So I was trained by Andrea Nakayama of the Functional Nutrition Alliance in functional nutrition. And, at least from her perspective, functional nutrition is sort of a branch of functional medicine. You could consider it that. And it's really like, okay, we need these high level functional medicine doctors sometimes due to this complex case solving work with clients and patients. But people just like, with the Institute for Integrative Nutrition plan and process, it's like we need to help people work through the diet and lifestyle pieces. We need to walk them through that process of how to eat properly, how to exercise well, how to sleep well, how to take care of their bodies. And so functional nutrition I think really covers that gap between what a medical doctor is doing and where people also need to go on their journey beyond just identifying what's happening.
Now I'm guessing you do a lot of lab testing or work. Is that correct?
I am trained with that and I do use that in my practice, but I've come around to using that a little farther down the process because I find that a lot of times, the practices that people have in place in their life already are not support, they would confuse what we're going to see on those lab tests. So, I like to start with let's clean up the diet. Let's clean up your sleep habits and get those into alignment with where you want to go. And then if that hasn't resolved things, then let's look deeper and see what else we can find. There may be underlying infections or other hidden things that are going on that need to be addressed.
I was just going to mention, it's interesting that you studied with Andrea Nakayama. She was a guest on our show a little while back. It was episode number 32, if anyone wants to check it out. She was a brilliant guest to have on. And now we have one of her students with us. Fabulous.
Yeah. So was your journey, can you tell us a little bit? You said at 32, you had all these health problems that led you to this career. How are you helping people now with the knowledge and experience that you've acquired along the way?
Yeah, well, I help people walk what I call the road to recovery. And so, I kind of help people walk through a process. And, we start with a functional medicine style case assessment that, really looks at the whole picture of what people are experiencing. And, we look at their timeline, the sequence of events that led to their problem. And oftentimes there's some really important information in that process of discovery that we go through. And then, using that information, then we start to address those those diet and lifestyle factors that I talked about. Okay, are there foods or behaviors that we need to shift to help, create the context where healing can actually happen and support whatever other kind of work we want to do. And, a huge part of that process is also discovering the specific food triggers or mediators that are affecting specific symptoms. So I do a lot of elimination diet work and food tracking to try and really identify specifically what people are struggling with. A lot of people are really confused about this. I've already tried doing this elimination diet and this didn't work, but let's get in there and really try and understand the specifics of the situation. And
Amanda,
yeah.
sorry, I want to make sure you tell people about your Roadmap to Recovery program.
Oh, okay. Do you want me to share that right now, or?
Yeah. Go ahead, because we're running out.
Okay. Well, the Roadmap to Recovery is a really great little free resource that I have that just sort of maps this all out for people. And it's a brief introduction to what I do. And would you like me to share the link? Is that?
Sure, go for it. And we'll put it in the show notes as well.
Great. So it's confluencenutrition.com/roadmap is where you can find that resource.
Wow. Well, you're a wealth of information, and it was so wonderful having you on the show today. I wish we had time to delve even deeper, but it's been really great. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here with you three.
Thanks, Amanda. Hey, where's the Lost Coast, by the way? What Lost?
Lost Coast. It's the longest roadless stretch of coastline in the lower 48 states, and it starts just at the mouth of the river 7 miles from my house. And so it's just like an hour south of Eureka, California.
That's
How
awesome.
cool is that? Yeah, I'd love to hear more about that. Well, anyway, so we covered so much interesting information today, you guys. What are your big takeaways?
Who's going? Who's going?
You go.
Well, I mean, it was just it was nice and freeing, and just to talk about sex, right? So with Salt and Pepper, let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me, right? So I think that we need to have more conversations about what it is to have healthy sex. So when a couple, or even by yourself, like what Michelle said earlier, what do you do when you're not in a relationship, right? So what does it mean to have a healthy sex life? I think we need to bring that conversation into the forefront. And I remember Dr. Ruth back in the 80s.
I was on her show.
What?
I'll tell you after. Finish what you're going to say.
Yes, I love Dr. Ruth Vestheimer. I loved her. I still tune in every week, and I know that some girls never see what their vulva looks like or their vagina looks like, but she encouraged us back in the 80s. Look at it. Look at your baby. Look at your body parts. Right? Yeah. So I think it'll help folks when they start to get to know their bodies better in a more intimate way. So then they could share that with the people in their lives.
I agree with you. I remember Dr. Ruth too. That was like, oh, someone's talking about this so freely. That was horrifying and also amazing for me as a little Roman Catholic girl. But you know what? Today, my big takeaway from Susan was about how the fertility awareness method might be having a rebirth and making it more accessible using technology, because I think it is stuff that should be taught in school to every single girl.
Yeah. And so, yes, I was on Dr. Ruth's show. They were filming students in Washington Square Park asking questions. And I was like, can you get herpes from a toilet seat? Anyway, apparently it ran again and again and again. It was a long time ago. But my big takeaway is, really combining, what Amanda and Susan had to say, that sex is something we need to talk about. And it really, it is hard to talk about with our clients. It's not a very natural subject, but I think it's so important in the scheme of, our life. And we talk about jobs, we talk about stresses. We need to bring sex into the conversation because it's such a loaded topic. And I think that we're starting to get that conversation going today. So I'm pleased about that. I would like to tell you all that we would love to hear your feedback and possibly even a 5-star review on iTunes. You can go to healthyviewradio.com/review. We'd be very appreciative. And I'd like to share this review from a listener. I've been listening to Healthy View Radio since it's aired and have really been enjoying the show. Michelle, Andrea, and Lisa are personable and fun and bring important topics to the air in an approachable, relatable way. I'm enjoying the variety of topics and perspectives covered in the episodes, and I'm looking forward to many more in the future. I highly recommend Healthy View Radio. You won't be sorry. So thanks for joining us this week. We will be back next week with lots more to talk about. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye, men.